BB Phil says, not true. So people are making a living off of being old school legends in Super Smash Brothers Melee, talking about the old days and being a voice of the community. That's very different. I'm telling you, that's just very different from the Street Fighter community, right? Like, in my day, I was the anomaly because I was the up-and-comer. I was the upstart, the guy that no one had faith in. Then all of a sudden, in the mid-2000s, I started getting really good at Super Turbo. And I started beating the pros who had been around since the 90s playing at top levels, and I was beating them. So I was like the kind of guy, the how would you even say, like, I came out of nowhere. Yeah, the young gun. I guess you could say that. I was the guy who, again, online, I talked so much shit. But in person, I was a really nice guy. But I did it to try to build up hype for Street Fighter. I was okay being the heel or the villain of Street Fighter as long as it meant that it got hype into the community, and it worked. There were many events that I attended, and people were, oh, man, I can't wait to see Phil get his ass beat. But then I would win, and they'd be like, oh, shit, the guy actually can back up the shit that he talks online. I can't believe it. You know, people were shocked at that. But, of course, again, the narrative is written by those in power. And what I mean by that is, basically, the people in charge of the Street Fighter community did not like me for various different reasons, and they basically tried to discredit me over the years. Oh, there's concrete evidence Phil's good at Super Turbo, but instead, let's make excuses for why he's not good. Like, oh, it was the wrong version. Oh, we weren't there that day. You know, bullshit. And so I would go to the next tournament, and I would still do good. So what's the next excuse? Then I would go to the next tournament, and I would still do good. What's the next excuse? But the narrative is written by those in power, by those who are in control. And that's what happened with me, is even though I was a driving force in the Street Fighter community in the 2000s for both competitive play and also running tournaments, because I basically adapted myself into being a tournament organizer on the East Coast. You know, I was running all kinds of shit and helping out. Any tournament I went to, I would help out to run it. And people appreciated that and respected me. But the thing is, times change. What happens is the people who were playing at that time, they don't play anymore. So they're not out to testify to this. Right? What you get is the biggest whiners and bitchers and drama queens on the internet who say, oh, yeah, DSP, I hated him and he was a piece of shit. Those are the people who you still get here now online. You don't hear the people who are actually around in those circles, positive people, to say, oh, yeah, DSP was a cool guy and he was great at Super Turbo and he kicked everyone's butt and he backed up what he said and he ran tournaments. Where are those people? They retired. They're not online actively talking about Street Fighter anymore. They're long past those days, right? You always hear the negative and the toxic because those are the ones who scream the loudest and want to get heard. The positive people moved on, right, with their lives. Do you really think people who played Street Fighter competitively in the mid-2000s play it that much anymore? Almost none. Very few. You know, there are holdouts like me. You still hear from me. You still hear from guys like Justin Wong and stuff like that. But it's few and far between. Excuse me. Oh, no, I just struck my camera, so now it's probably... Oh, yeah. Nice and off-center. See here. Struck the camera by accident. Still off-center. Hold on. I'm trying to see if I'm lined up with the middle. Yeah, I guess I kind of am. That good? All right. Perfect. Why do I think the FGC dislikes me so much? There's many different reasons. There's many different reasons. Because there's different eras of people, okay? Old school players who are still around and are verbose don't like me because back in the day, I was the whistleblower. I was the guy who exposed corruption. When tournaments were being basically rigged, I was the one who yelled about it. So do you think the top players who were benefiting from the tournaments being rigged liked the fact that I was the guy who talked about it? Of course not. They hated me. They were like, dude, you're blowing it for us. Why don't you shut the fuck up? I was like, because it's not right. You know, I don't care who benefits. This is fucked up that these tournaments are rigged and you get preferential treatment and all this shit is happening. It's just fucked up. It shouldn't happen. So they don't like me because of that. During the Street Fighter 4 era, a whole new group didn't like me because there were online creators on YouTube trying to get noticed for their skill in Street Fighter 4. But I was just making casualized Street Fighter 4 videos of relatively low quality of skill, but I was getting 10 times more views than they were. I was being one of the notable YouTube creators for Street Fighter 4 while the pro players weren't getting noticed. And they hated me for that. They absolutely were like, I don't get it. Why DSP? They would actually interview a pro player at a tournament. What do you think about DSP? They ask him that because I was hot for making Street Fighter content. Oh, I don't know who the fuck that is. I don't know what you're talking about. What? They would diss me because they were upset that I was popular and they weren't getting the views that I was getting. So that's another era. Now you got the Street Fighter V era. During the Street Fighter V era, I was very outspoken, saying things like, Street Fighter V is trash. This game has all these problems, and here they are. And I exposed the game. I even made a video that got tons of views at the very beginning of Street Fighter V telling people the game is trash and the FGC is basically kissing the game's butt because they know that if Street Fighter doesn't have a game in the running as a major fighting game, their community will dwindle. And they don't want to see the Street Fighter community dwindle. So they play this inferior game and praise it as if it's good when in reality they know it's not. Now, I was hated on at the time and everyone dumped on me for making that video at the beginning of Street Fighter V. Last year, Street Fighter 6 comes out, the entire FGC dumps on Street Fighter V. Oh yeah, that game was bad all along. But I said that when it came out. And you just crapped on me. Because you all cared more about your own popularity, your own profits on the videos and the streams and the tournaments than actually admitting the game sucked. But now that the new one's out that's better, now you can say it sucked. So each generation of Street Fighter, I'm the one who's outspoken and honest, and I'm the one who gets crapped on every single time. Now, of course, what they'll say is they'll lie and say, well, the reason we really don't like Phil is because he's toxic when he plays Street Fighter Online. Nobody cares about me being toxic playing Street Fighter Online. Everyone is toxic playing Street Fighter Online. Back in the day, literally everyone was toxic at every single tournament and every single arcade. That's what it was. Like I said, it used to be like almost like getting initiated into a college fraternity, like a good old boys club. Like the shit talking and shit was part of the fun. That literally was part of the experience of playing competitive Street Fighter. It was commonplace. It wasn't I was the only one doing it. Literally, I learned it from others. Okay? So that's just their scapegoat bullshit to try to say, oh, here's the reason we don't like DSP. In reality, they don't like me because they know that at any given moment, I'm not beholden to Capcom or Street Fighter. I can say whatever I want, and it doesn't matter. Because I don't have to worry about, I lost a sponsorship, I lost a partnership, I can't stream a tournament anymore. Oh no, no one will watch my tutorial videos on this new character. Because I don't give a fuck about that. I'm honest and transparent, and people don't like that. They want butt kissers. They want people who will always say the nice thing about the new game and get the big plug and get the money, and then they say, get that bag. I don't understand. Why doesn't Phil just get that bag? Right? Because I've never been like that. I never will be like that. They hate that. They want me to be another cog in the machine, and I refuse to do it. So they keep me over here as the black sheep. And it's hilarious because how many times have I said over the years, I'm not part of the FGC. Yet the FGC can never shut the fuck up about me. People in the FGC making videos and shit about me. The scrub mentality. You're the fucking scrub. You made a video about someone who's not part of the FGC. I literally keep telling you I have no desire to play the games competitively at any high level. So why the fuck do you make a video about me except you're a fucking loser? Right? That's it. They won't shut up. They never will. They literally never will. Anyway. That's about it. Spawn Killer, what's going on? $2 super chat. He says, Nerd Josh is on Twitch and still active. That's awesome. He's a great guy. Nerd Josh was always a super cool guy. Used to hang out with him all the time and go to tournaments and stuff. In fact, Nerd Josh was someone who in the early 2000s, I used to hang out with and play Street Fighter in Connecticut. Capcom vs. SNK2 was the one that he was always heavily into, and he was always incredibly good at it. And then he got into other games like Guilty Gear and stuff like that that I didn't get into. No, I mean, like, seriously, the people who I used to hang out with, first of all, the Connecticut players, all retired. There's seriously not a single Connecticut player left playing at a competitive level who I used to hang out with back in the day. They all retired and moved on to have their own lives, so they're done. You wouldn't be able to talk to them about me because they don't exist anymore in the community, nor do they want to be associated with it. If you want to talk about the other people I was on a team called Team Hate. It included players like Nestor, also known as Coruchado Online, Tony Barnhill, Paul Wall, and many others from this area of like Massachusetts, New Jersey, Connecticut, and I'm trying to remember where the Tokyo Game Action arcade was. I've forgotten now where it was, in that area. And that was a group of people who we were always traveling together and playing together and respecting each other. And like I said, I ran tons of tournaments in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area. I would travel to run these tournaments. Literally, these people don't play anymore, or they're out of the community. Some of them have passed away. There's no one left from that era to come out and be like, yeah, Phil was awesome, because I'm the only one who's around making content online anymore. You know, the more prominent players like Justin Wong, I was never in the circles Justin Wong was. He was the New York circles. I wasn't really into the Chinatown Fair players and stuff like that. That was all fucking Empire Arcadia shit, which we were rivals with them and we didn't like them, you know? So that's why you guys, well, let's ask Justin Wong about Darkside Phil. He's not going to know. He wasn't hanging out with me. You know, we were completely different circles. Exactly. It was like rival arcades. You're right. Certain group of players would be rivals with another group of players, and so we'd always be at odds, right? Any chance we'll bring back member nights for Street Fighter 6? How about we just fucking play Street Fighter 6 first? Right? How about we get back into the swing of things of Street Fighter 6? We see if I you get back to playing it, liking it, you know, getting readjusted to it before we start setting up elaborate nights with players, right? See, BB Phil, here's the thing. The people who watch my content don't care about old school Street Fighter, right? You guys know me from this YouTube era, you know, the 2010s into now the 2020s. If I did, let's say when I said tonight I'm going to do open night where all we do is talk about old school Street Fighter, and I'd like people from the old days to come on, no one would. No one even, I'm telling you, like, no one would be around to even join and talk or nothing. No one cares. That's what I mean. It's just a different era. And again, the people who write history are the ones who were in power. So when you hear about that era of 1990s, 2000 Street Fighter, you'll always hear about West Coast. You'll hear about the California players and shit like that. Why? Because the people who ran the events, like Evo, were West Coast people. So you'll always hear them say, oh, this is what was happening back then. Well, you know, there was a whole other country of people, right, who existed. Why is it that we only hear the history from this one small group? Right? Because those are the only people who are still into it. You know what I'm saying? That's why. They're the only people who are still into it. Everyone else moved on. You guys like the lore? Dude, there's so many things. And the thing is, as we talk about this stuff too, I tend to remember more that I've completely forgotten about, right? I do. Like, I'll remember all of a sudden a new story or something new that was going on. And by the way, even though half the time when we talk about this, I talk about controversies, I talk about things that were going on that were not kosher, there's tons of positive things too. I want you to understand that. Like, I wouldn't have been involved in this community if there weren't great stories and things that happened that were very fun and positive and interesting. Okay? I would have never, the whole thing was just a fucking bunch of bullshit, I wouldn't have been involved in it. It's a big chapter of my life. No, it's true. The East Coast history has mostly been forgotten by the FGC, almost 100%. There was the whole era of Eddie Lee and stuff like that that people never talk about anymore. That was before my time, before I was prominent. There was people who were super duper good, who people act like they never existed. It's fucked up.